Barrel saunas look amazing and have tons of benefits, but there are a few flaws that most people don't know about until it's too late. Today in this video, I'm going to break down my 3 biggest issues with the barrel sauna that I've experienced personally and what you need to know before dropping thousands of dollars on one of these for yourself. And no, I'm not going to cover the heat distribution in this video. It's probably the most debated topic when it comes to a barrel style sauna, and I did talk about that in another video that I'll link in the description below. Let's get into it. The first flaw that I'm going to talk about today is the fact that barrels are not waterproof. Even if you spend hours and hours perfecting the staves and making sure they're really tight in together, water's eventually going to find its way in. Now, the companies who sell these type of saunas say that this isn't an issue and you don't really have to worry about if rain gets in, but most of these companies also recommend either adding some type of roof coverage or sell some type of shingle or tarp or something of that sort to go over the sauna to prevent that rain from coming in, to kind of keep a little bit more of the heat in. So clearly it's a bit of an issue if a product's been created to solve the problem. And for me, I personally feel like if it's a problem and they know it's a problem, that it should come standard with the saunas. It shouldn't be an add-on that you have to spend additional hundreds of dollars on in order to be able to come outside during a rainstorm and sit in your sauna without getting wet. Now, I'm in a pretty mild climate, but if you are in a snowy or really rainy climate, I would budget for some sort of roof coverage from day one. Whether that be an overhang, an A-frame, or even some sort of shingle or metal roof that you end up putting on here, I think it will prolong the life of the sauna if you're in a climate like that, and it'll also help with not only keeping the water out, but also probably some of the heat retention in here. Now, the second flaw has to do with the barrel's design and the way that it allows the wood to expand and contract. This contributes to the water issue because as that wood expands, when it contracts, you'll have small gaps. You can see little areas of sunlight and kind of air. That'll allow some heat to escape and that'll allow some water to get in. Now, the way to fix that is to tighten up the bands. It's a bit of ongoing maintenance when it comes to the bands, because once you get halfway up on the barrel build, there's no nails, there's no screws, there's no hardware, there's nothing holding those staves together aside from seating them into each other and having those 3 bands nice and tight. It can also become a little bit of a headache when it comes to the door, because on super humid days, that wood also can expand, making it kind of hard to open and close the door and get that magnetic connection seated properly. It's nearly impossible to get those staves seated perfectly into each other and tightened up in a way that they won't expand and contract and cause those little gaps to happen. So it's kind of an ongoing maintenance thing that you should be prepared for. The third and final flaw that we'll talk about here today has to do with the interior design of the barrel sauna. Now, there's 3 factors to consider when you think about interior design. The first is going to be the ceiling height and the entry and exit height. The second is going to be the bench width, and if you can make them wider, if there's room for that. And then the third is going to be that natural curve that a barrel sauna has. When it comes to ceiling height, all the specifications are going to be listed online, but it's kind of hard to picture until you actually get into the sauna. So I'm about 5'9". I can stand fully up in this sauna with about ½ an inch or less room between my head and the top of the sauna, but the doorway is smaller. So the frame of the doorway is probably about 6 inches or so lower than the roof. So I do have to duck to get in and out. I've had taller people in here who haven't had issues, but it's just something to consider, especially if you're like a really tall person, that roof's only going to be roughly about 5'10", so you're going to be ducking, getting in and out. And you might hit your head a few times, especially because that doorway is a bit lower than the actual roof is. The second part to that is the benches. I really think that these benches could benefit for 1 or 2 more slats, because I like to lay down in here, and while this is only a 4-person barrel, so I can't fully extend my legs, my shoulder kind of hangs off, and if I had 1 or 2 more slats, I think it would solve that problem. Now, they do make extra wide barrels and kind of different variations that have bigger benches, but in general, I think this is a pretty standard size bench, and just something to think about if you do plan to spend extended periods of time laying down in your sauna. The final factor is going to be that natural curve of the barrel. So again, I'm roughly 5'9". I can sit with my back along the bench, I can sit with my head along the barrel, and my neck isn't really pushed forward at all. If I was much taller, the barrel curve gets more and more steep, and as it gets more steep, my head would have to come further and further forward. Now, there is a solution for that for taller people. You could kind of get one of those backrests built out here to where it extends up further so you have more room with the curve. But again, if you really don't want to DIY or do anything, that's something to consider, that if you're much taller than 5'9", 5'10", your head's going to be placed a little bit further forward, which might feel a little bit uncomfortable. Overall, even after talking about the flaws that we spoke about today, I do still love this sauna. I don't regret purchasing it, and I feel that the benefits outweigh the flaws. I do, however, think it's important to understand some of those flaws, some of those ongoing maintenance, so you can make an informed decision, and that was the goal of this video here today. Now, if there's something that I didn't cover or something that you want more detail on, just drop a comment below and I'll do my best to answer it in the best way that I can. Thank you for sticking around and watching this video. I look forward to making the next one. If you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button, and see you soon.